and welcome to the Rank and Report football show from Richmond, Virginia to London, England. I am your host, Adam Booker, and I'm joined, as I always am, by Mr. Charlie Gordon. How you doing, Charlie?
I'm fantastic, mate. I'm rejoicing in the news that we've absolutely flown past 100 subscribers. And the kit giveaway is doing pretty well, really. It's got a lot of attention on Twitter, and it's not over yet. So I think Adam's going to tell you now how you can get involved.
Yes, I think we're at 114 subscribers now, so we've hit our milestone and surpassed it quite
Emphatically is the word you're looking for. We surpassed our milestone emphatically.
We have emphatically passed our 100 subscribers milestone. We're at 114 now, so thank you to everybody that has subscribed so far. And if you want to get involved with the kit giveaway to win, to get an opportunity to win an Away Days mystery kit, you can hit the card in the top right corner of your screen right now, and that will bring you to that video where you can get all the information on how to get involved. And there's some pretty cool kits on there, so I definitely suggest getting involved.
Yeah,
and if you're not a subscriber...
Sorry, carry on. You go.
If you're not a subscriber, go ahead and hit the subscription button down below and hit the notification bell to be notified whenever we release a new video.
Yeah, and so far...
Go ahead, Charlie.
So far, as I jump in again, I think there's about 20 to 30 entrants. So, guys, the opportunity here to win a mystery kit is so good. Your odds are unbelievable. And you probably won't find a better one online. So, this is the time to get involved.
Yeah, normally you see these mystery kits on these big YouTube channels and you're in the running with like hundreds or thousands of other people, but you've only got a handful of people to compete with, so your chances are high of winning it. So, all right, awesome. Now that we got that out of the way, we've got a bit of a special episode today. Normally we would be doing our rankings this week since it's been 2 weeks since our last rankings, but because of the international break, we wanted to let another round of matches be played before we give our next rankings. So we've got a bit of a special one today. Charlie, why don't you walk us through what we're doing today?
Yeah, absolutely. So, the international break, it's not all doom and gloom. We've decided to capitalize on that by bringing you something a little bit different. It's basically, the headline is, it's an under-21 European 11. And by under-21, we mean 20 and under. I know that's not the official rule for under-21 international teams, but we did that to kind of test ourselves and also just cover the report element of this show because there's not a lot of players 20 and under, so we really want to enhance our own research and tell you, the people, about the best youngsters that are coming through in Europe at the moment.
Yeah, and we found that there was a ton of players at 21 that are already household names. If we had done 21-year-olds in this, I think you guys probably would have known 75 to 85% of the players already in there. So we wanted to get some more obscure players if we could. So that's why we've got 20 and under. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it. So we're going to give, what formation we have it in. It's not like a 1 to 10 ranking like we normally do of the top 10 best players of that age. We're going to give an actual lineup with a formation and all that stuff. So it should be a lot of fun. So why don't we get right into it? Charlie, I will let you go first with your goalkeeper and back four.
Absolutely. I'm going to jump straight in there to the goalkeeper, which was hands down the most difficult position on the pitch, because let me tell you, there's not a lot of 20 and under goalkeepers that are playing first team football around the world. So, well, in Europe specifically. So the one I've gone for is a guy that's pretty new on the scene this season, especially for Premier League fans, and that is Illan Meslier. My French pronunciation is not perfect, but his name is something like Meslier or Meslier. 20 years old, which is perfect. He plays for Leeds United, and he's actually had a pretty serious run in the team this season. Bielsa's shown quite a lot of confidence in him. And he's had some decent performances as well. To be fair, Leeds have not been kind of recognisable for their defensive solidity so far this season. But I do remember the first couple of games I saw him this season, I thought, who is this guy? He's a fantastic shot stopper. And even though they lost to Liverpool 4-3, he put up a really brave and good performance in that game. He's 6'6". He's played 66 senior appearances in senior football. And currently he plays for the France under-20 national team. So let's get it straight. This guy's not an absolute world beater, but he has got some serious promise, and he is the best under 21 keeper in Europe at the moment. Now, as I move on to my chosen right back, this was a fairly easy decision for me. I know Adam has got a different guy, so that's going to be controversial, but I've gone for Reece James, who is still 20 years old. In 2 weeks' time, he's going to turn 21, so we got there in this video just in time. Obviously, he's the Chelsea right back. He'll be well known to fans of the Premier League. He's racked up 100 senior appearances already and scored 7 goals. And he basically kind of rose to prominence through a loan spell with Wigan Athletic. That was in the 2018-19 season. Obviously, that league doesn't get a lot of recognition, but those who watched him earmarked him and said, this guy is one for the future, absolutely. He's worth £30 million already. And I think the most impressive stat about Reece James is he's already notched up 4 international caps this season, which when you consider he's competing at right back for England with Trent Alexander-Arnold, Aaron Wan-Bissaka, Maitland-Niles, Kieran Trippier and Kyle Walker, to rack up any caps whatsoever is quite an impressive achievement for a 20-year-old. So he slides straight in there in my 11. Moving on to the centre-backs, my first one is a Turkish youngster called Ozan Kabak. He plays for Schalke in the Bundesliga, 66 senior appearances, 6 goals, and already 7 caps for Turkey. He's actually missed quite a lot of games already this season for some kind of red card / spitting incident, which led to a 5-match suspension. I'm sure Adam will enlighten you further on that one. That sounds a little bit crazy, but despite that, he's a really good ball-playing centre-back. He's not the biggest, so he's not the most physically dominating, but with the ball at his feet, he's fantastic, and that is what tends to catch the eye for defenders nowadays. And he's worth £29 million already, so he goes in there at centre-back. And his partner is 19-year-old Wesley Fofana. Anyone who's watched this channel before will know that I'm an outspoken admirer of Fofana. Only 19 years old. He's played the least amount of football in my entire 11, just 40 senior appearances, but he's already playing for the France under-21 national team. And that basically France have got the best squad in the world right now. So that is very, very impressive. He's a Leicester centre-back. He's another one who is absolutely fantastic with the ball at his feet. He's great to watch. He's 6'3". He's extremely athletic. But if you watched him against Liverpool this weekend, it was not his finest showing. So he got exposed defensively quite a few times. So I'll put him down at the moment as an unrefined talent, but he's extremely talented nonetheless. So he slides in there very nicely as my other centre-back. And finally, at left-back, we've got Alphonso Davies. He's only just turned 20 years old, but he's comfortably one of the best players in this team. Probably the top 2 best players in this team right now. The Canadian can either play left-back or left wing. And basically, what you got to say about this guy is he is absolutely rapid. He's probably one of the fastest players in world football right now, and when he gets going, when he puts the burners on, he makes everyone else look like they're standing still. 20 years old, he's already played an incredible amount of football for Vancouver Whitecaps, Bayern, and Canada. 157 games, 18 goals, 17 caps, and he's worth £80 million already. It was an absolute no-brainer to put him at left back, despite Bukayo Saka putting in a good bid to get in that team as well. So he's easily there at left back. Adam, what do you reckon of my back 4 and keeper?
No, that's quite a talented back 4, back 5. But yeah, Davies is. I just want to touch on him for a minute because he is a special talent. I got to see a lot of him in MLS when he was a youngster, and obviously he went for, I believe it was about 11.2 million euros when he went to Bayern from Vancouver. And I remember, in MLS, 11 million pounds or 11 million euros is a huge fee. And now he's worth something like $88 million, I think. So, the guy is just skyrocketed to being one of the best left backs in the world. And you mentioned that pace. He doesn't find himself out of position that often, but there is essentially no way for him to be out of position because if he finds himself in a tricky situation, he can just hit the jets and he's back there in a flash.
Yeah.
And on top of that, he's decent with the ball. I think it was was it Nelson Semedo he went past in that 8-2 victory over Barca, where he absolutely rinsed him on the
Yeah.
wing and then played the ball in for maybe the 7th or 8th goal.
Mate, there's
He's
no
just,
end. There's no end to the amount of people he's rinsed. I remember
yeah,
when he really burst on the scene for English fans at least was when he came to Stamford Bridge with Bayern. Obviously, he was then still 19. He might even have been 18. I think he was 19 though, and just absolutely blitzing people. His pace is just such a weapon because it makes him such a threat going forward and backwards. Like you said, recovery speed means that defensively he's barely ever out of position because he can just get back there. And offensively, if you see him running at you and there's green grass behind you, you'd better just say your prayers, essentially. That's what it comes down to.
yeah, absolutely. All right, before we move on to my goalkeeper and back four, Charlie, for our audio listeners, why don't you just run through that list real quick again?
Okay, so just nice and concisely, in goal I've got Ilan Meslier. Right back I've got Reece James. Centre backs I've got Ozan Kabak and Wesley Fofana. And left back I've got Alphonso Davies.
Awesome. All right. So for my goalkeeper and back four, I have to admit, for goalkeeper, I cheated. I'm not going to lie, I cheated.
I'm so disappointed in you for this.
I just could not find anybody other than Meslier under the age of 21 that was decent enough and getting first team football. So right off the bat, I'm breaking the rules. I'm going with a 21-year-old in net. But he is so good and he's been playing since such a young age that I just felt like I had to shoehorn him in, and that is Gigi Donnarumma of AC Milan. The guy is an absolute world beater already at the age of 21. He's easily the best goalkeeper in Serie A, and I think in the next few years he could be the best goalkeeper in the world. He's decent with the ball at his feet, but he is an incredible shot stopper. He is very tall, and he's just so imposing in that net. One thing I really appreciate about him also is, loyalty is not something that really exists in modern football. But I think it was 2 seasons ago, AC Milan were in a real bad spell financially and with their position in the table as well. And he had offers to go to Juventus. He had offers to go basically anywhere he wanted to in Europe, stay to AC Milan, and now they're kind of skyrocketing back to the top in Italy. So yeah, the guy is just world class already. He's not a potential talent. He is a household name already in Italy. So I've got Gigi Donnarumma in net. And in it right back, I have also gone with a fellow countryman of mine, like Charlie. I've gone with Barcelona's Serginho Dest, who has kind of broken onto the scene very recently. He had a couple good seasons at Ajax when he was 18 and 19. And then Ronald Koeman, who had seen a lot of him when he was playing in the Dutch league, decided to bring him over to Barcelona, and he's already slotted in as the starting right back over Sergi Roberto. And, one thing that really impresses me about Serginho Dest is he's basically 2-footed. He can play on the right or the left, wherever Koeman needs him. We just had 2 international friendlies for the U.S. national team. And in one game he played on the right, one game he played on the left, and in both he was absolutely superb. He's a really flashy guy as well. He does all sorts of like step overs and, megging players to go past them and stuff. And he's just really a very technically gifted player. And he's not an awful defender one-on-one. The fullback position has kind of turned into almost an auxiliary winger in modern football. And, he can still defend one-on-one pretty well. So I've got Serginho Dest in at number 2. And at the moment, he is worth £16 million, by the way. So that number feels like a bit low to me. I think he went to Barca for about 25 after bonuses and stuff. And if he has another move in him in the next 4 or 5 years, I think it'll be probably double that. All right, in at center back, I have also gone with Schalke's Ozan Kabak. Charlie kind of already spoke about him, so I'm not going to go too deep into him. But he's already played a lot for Schalke, and he moved there when he was only 19. He's a big guy. He's 6'1", and he's pretty muscular. And one thing that really impresses me about him is he's really, really good at driving with the ball into the midfield, and he tends to kind of just bypass his midfielders, and he'll step up and he'll just kind of leather the ball into his forward's feet. So I'd suggest going and watching some highlights of this guy, because Liverpool went for a 40 million move for him, and it's for a good reason. So I've got Kabak also in as one of my center backs. My other center back, I've got Manchester City's Eric Garcia. He hasn't played that much lately for City. He has decided and spoken out about his desire to leave City and run down his contract and eventually go back to his boyhood club in Barcelona. But he's still a very, very good talent, and Pep has multiple times selected him over the likes of John Stones and last season Otamendi. These are guys that were kind of out of form, but they're still recognized defenders in the Premier League. And Garcia was playing over them at 19. He's kind of a small guy, but he's really good at staying, positionally aware, and he's a decent one-on-one defender. And Barcelona wanted to rebuild their defense around him, and it looks like they probably will if they can get him for a free at the end of this season. And now Real Madrid are actually in form as well. So, we're talking about a guy that doesn't play that much for City anymore, but the two biggest clubs in arguably the world, but definitely in Spain are after his signature. So he's definitely a big time talent for the future. And in at left back, just like Charlie, it's hard not to go with Alphonso Davies. We kind of said everything there is to say about him. The guy is electric to watch. We talked about the fact that he can go around players very easily, and because of his speed, he's basically never finds himself out of position. And he's only 20, so the guy's got 12, 13 more years ahead of him. And if he's anything like Kyle Walker, who seems to have gotten faster as his career has gone on, then, he's definitely, I would argue, the best left back under the age of 28. There may be some veteran left backs that are a little bit better than him, but by the time this guy is 24 or 25, he's just going to be far and above the best left back in the world. So easily slotted in Alphonso Davies there at left back. All right, so just to run through that real quick for our audio listeners, in net, I've got Gigi Donnarumma, right back, Serginho Dest, center back, Ozan Kabak, other center back is Eric Garcia, and my left back is Alphonso Davies. What do we think about that, Charlie?
Yeah, I think literally going off the back of what you were just saying there, Alphonso Davies is well on his way, if not being the best left back in the world already. But I want to kind of bring it back to Donnarumma. Despite him, he's kind of just broken into our video here. I don't know how he's done it, because obviously he's not 20, he's 21. But I was very tempted to break the rules for him as well, because he's just a very interesting guy to talk about. I was looking back over his career yesterday, and he played 30 league games for Milan in a season where he was 16 and then turned 17. And I quite honestly have never seen anything like that in my life for a keeper, right? Sometimes, on the very, very odd occasion, you might see a player that will break through at 16. Ansu Fati did it. Theo Walcott did it. Wayne Rooney did it. Like very, very rarely. And they're normally short, skillful, quick players that play in attacking positions. But you barely ever see that as a goalkeeper, because you need to be big, mature, smart, composed, all of those things. And this kid had a flipping beard, and he was 6'6" by the time he was finishing high school, which is absolutely mental. I've never seen that before, and he's already racked up over 200 league games for Milan at the age of 21. So he's on course to break all sorts of records, really.
Yeah, it's really impressive, and especially as a keeper where you are in a position where you have no help. If you're a center half, and if we look at my team, if you're Eric Garcia and you're 19, 20 years old, but you've got Laporte next to you to clean up any mistakes that you may make, it's could be a little bit forgiving of a position just because you have people around you. But a keeper, any mistake that a keeper makes almost 99% of the time leads to a goal, and the guy doesn't make a lot of mistakes. And like you said, to basically play an entire season as a 16, 17-year-old is absolutely unreal. And I think next 3 or 4 years, he'll easily be the best keeper in the world. And I'd love to see him stay at Milan and take that club back to the top like they used to be. But if that's not Milan's ambition, you could see this guy being, a Real Madrid, Bayern Munich, Barcelona keeper for 10 years. So
Yeah.
yeah, he's a real talent.
Is he really that good then, Adam? Because you said he was the best keeper in Serie A right now. And I know Handanovic has had a lot of praise in the last few years as one of the best keepers in the world. So, yeah, what do you think on that?
Part of my thinking in saying that is that Handanovic is declining a bit this season. I think if this were last season, I wouldn't have given that label to Donnarumma. Probably would have given it to Handanovic, but he's had a bit of a rough season so far, Handanovic. He's a pretty old guy. I think he's older than 32. I think he's 33 or 34. But yeah, he's had a bit of a rough season so far. And Donnarumma was so close behind him for that second best keeper in Serie A that for me, with Handanovic starting to decline, I just had to give that label to him.
Yeah, no, especially with Milan flying this season, I guess it's natural that his stock's gonna rise in goal. So yeah, shall I go into my midfield now if we've got no more debates?
Go ahead,
yeah. Okie doke. So onto my midfield. We're playing a midfield 3, and we both decided to kind of make it a nice, well-rounded midfield 3. So we can't just throw 3 attackers in there, no matter how much we want to, because basically the young talent in the world is heavily weighted towards attacking players for the reasons we mentioned before. So yeah, but the first one of my 3 is definitely an attacking player. It's one who you might not have heard of, but I'm very sure you will have heard of him very soon. He's basically the trendiest player to know right now, and that is Dominik Szoboszlai. Forgive me, everybody. I tried my best. He's a Hungarian player who plays for Red Bull Salzburg, and I hear some of you saying, listening right now, but that's a very small league, the Austrian league. Well, listen, okay. Haaland came through at Salzburg, and he turned out to be amazing. So did Sadio Mane. He also turned out to be amazing. And don't judge before you go and watch this guy's highlights videos, because he is unbelievable to watch. To be honest, I'd heard about him before because he was getting a lot of admiration from very respected football journalists on Twitter who had watched him in the Champions League this season, where he scored 4 goals in 5 games. And I went and watched his videos, and oh my word, the guy is, to say he's talented is a massive understatement. He's already played 117 senior games, 38 goals, 12 caps for Hungary, and his right foot is an absolute rocket. Basically, the guy hits a knuckleball like me or you would hit a normal shot. The guy just knuckleballs it. If he wants to shoot, he will just knuckleball it. And his highlight reel already is absolutely incredible. And sorry, I know I'm going on, but basically his ability to strike the ball means that he's a great shooter, but he's also a great passer of the ball. When you can do funky stuff like that with the ball, you can do little chips over the top, big switches across the park. Basically, the guy is an unbelievable talent, 20 years old. He's linked with Arsenal and Real Madrid, so keep your eyes out and remember the name, no matter how difficult it is to pronounce.
Can you give me, because before you had sent me your team, I had never heard of him. Can you give me a comparison with a recognized player?
Okay, luckily for you and luckily for me, I don't have to think too hard because I've got it written down here. Coutinho-esque is what I've got written down. Loves a long shot. If he gets in range, he'll just smash one, essentially. And he really does remind me of Coutinho, actually. So that's who I'd go with there. But like, if you've never heard of him, this is the time to kind of read up on him, and then you can say you knew about him before he was cool, because he's going to get a big move. He's worth 25 million and he's linked to a lot of big boys. So, yeah, go and watch him. He's a lot of fun. So, as I move on now to my central midfielder, the anchor, and that is going to be Eduardo Camavinga. Again, not a hugely well-known player unless you do follow football quite closely, and that's because he's only 18 years old as of 2 weeks ago. So this guy is a proper youngster. However, he's already got an entire season under his belt for Rennes, playing in the central midfield position as a 17-year-old. So that's incredible. 51 senior appearances, 2 goals, already 3 caps and 1 goal for France, the France men's national team. And that obviously is extremely impressive. He's worth 50 million already. And basically, this guy, he's pretty much no frills. He's a midfielder. All his play takes place in the middle. He's not really attacking. He's quite good at defending, but he kind of reminds me of a bit of a Frankie de Jong. Very good at keeping the ball in tight spaces. It's all about playing it simple. Get the ball, play it on. If you could advance it by dribbling past a couple of people, lovely. But he's not going to be letting fly from 30 yards. He just does the simple things very, very well, which is a good sign for someone who's just turned 18. And obviously, Rennes is not a massive club, so he's naturally been linked with a lot of huge clubs around Europe, and that's basically just a matter of time. So Camavinga's there in the middle of my 3. And the final component to my 3 is another attacking player, and that is our very own Philip Foden, the Stockport Iniesta, £60 million worth of wonderfulness. Primarily plays as a centre mid or a left wing. He's been playing a lot on the wing this season, which I'm not a huge fan of. He does a good job there on the wing, but primarily I wanted to see him as a David Silva replacement. And I think he's kind of working his way towards it. But he's not. Pep doesn't trust him in that central midfield role just yet. But basically, 84 senior appearances, 18 goals from centre mid, which is a really good return. And he's shown so far that he's got a great eye for goal. He scored 2 good goals in the week for England last week. And yeah, basically, we all know about Phil Foden. His career has been handled with care so far, but I'm just waiting for him to be unleashed. Adam, back to you.
Yeah, I love that midfield. It's very close to being my midfield, although I didn't have the Hungarian kid in there because
Go on, say it.
Don't even want to attempt it. But yeah, no, that's quite a talented midfield, and now that you've brought him up, I'm going to be looking at I'll probably watch Salzburg from here on out just to watch him play. So
yeah, sorry, they're playing tonight. Actually, I think tonight. The video is going to go out tomorrow. So they played last night against Bayern Munich. So if he goes and scores a hat trick or scores a 40-yard screamer now, like I told you so. Okay, I told you so.
We'll make sure to mention right now that you have brought this up before the kickoff of that game.
Very important.
All right, why don't you give us the quick, concise list for our audio listeners, and then we'll move on to my midfield.
Absolutely. So midfield anchor, I've got Eduardo Camavinga of Rennes, and the 2 more attacking centre mids either side. I've got Phil Foden of Manchester City, and I've got Dominik Szoboszlai of Red Bull Salzburg.
All right, awesome. So for my midfield 3, I've also gone with a 4-3-3. My midfield 3, I've gone with the kind of, I guess we could say, Pep Guardiola midfield 3, where I've got the kind of anchor and then 2 number 8s in front of him. So my anchor is Sandro Tonali of AC Milan. He's 20 years old, and he is an absolute midfield gem. He just moved to Milan from Brescia, where they actually got relegated. But from everything I've heard and read, they would have been relegated far earlier if it weren't for him. He's really, really good on the ball for a 20-year-old. And, he's the future of AC Milan's midfield. And with the trajectory that AC Milan are on at the moment, it's kind of a big tag, to get this to be one of the guys to get this club back to the top where they belong. But yeah, like I said, he went through that relegation with Brescia as a 19-year-old, and he was starting every game. So he's kind of a battle-hardened dude. He hasn't played too much for AC Milan yet. They're really betting him into that midfield. But, don't fear. This guy will be starting week in, week out within the next 6 to 12 months. So he's worth only £26 million at the moment. But by the time this guy has a full season under his belt, it will be well, probably, I don't know, maybe double that, triple that in 5 years. He's that good. So, yeah, just keep an eye on Tonali because he is the future of Italy and AC Milan's midfield. All right. One of my other midfielders, I've also gone with Eduardo Camavinga Charlie was already raving about him, and I don't want to add too much to that. He did mention that there were a lot of clubs in for him. And I just wanted to mention one big club, and that's Real Madrid, have basically come out and said that if Paul Pogba doesn't come in the next couple of transfer windows, that they're going to rebuild their midfield around Camavinga. And the guys are only 18 years old, and he's already got that kind of future on his shoulders. So that, that is some high praise from the biggest club in the world, arguably. So, this could be the next Galactico. So yeah, the guy's unbelievable, and he's got really long legs, and the way he wins the ball back in midfield with those long legs is really graceful, and it's really awesome to watch. So if you can watch some Rennes games and see this guy play, it's a lot of fun. All right, another repeat player we've got, just because as Charlie and I are both City fans, we couldn't leave him out. But my other midfielder is Phil Foden of Manchester City. Charlie already said enough about him, but I would hesitate to say that there was no sentiment that came into this, because a little bit of sentiment came into this decision. But the guy is, this is a guy that Pep Guardiola, who has coached Xavi, Iniesta, Messi, Sergio Busquets. Pep himself has said this is the most talented player I've ever coached, and that was 2 seasons ago when he was 18. So if you're a Premier League fan, you already know who this is, but you might not if you're not someone who follows English football. The guy is called the Stockport Iniesta for a reason. He is sick on the ball. The ball is glued to his feet when he has it in midfield. He's really shifty, can turn really well with the ball, and every once in a while can ping one of those worm burners from outside of the box that'll end up in a corner. So
a worm burner. Wow. That's a new
is
one.
That not an English? Is that not an English term?
No, we'd call it a daisy cutter, but worm burner is so much more dramatic. I love that.
I think that came from lacrosse, which is what I played as a kid, where if you shot it underhanded and the ball went across the grass, it was a worm burner. But I don't think I'm the first person to use it in a football sense, but I'm glad I could open you up to it.
Yeah.
But yeah, Phil Foden is the third midfielder of my midfield 3. So just to run through that one more time, that is a midfield 3 of Sandro Tonali, Eduardo Camavinga, and Phil Foden.
Yeah. So firstly, I'm sorry for going first on the midfielders. I completely stole your thunder there, so I promise you can go first uninterrupted on the attackers, because I completely jumped the gun there. But just bringing it back to Tonali, because he's kind of the glaring player that I didn't put in my 11, and obviously I had him noted down. He's quite well known as a young player in Europe, and he's been playing football week in, week out since probably the last couple of years for Brescia, who obviously they were a struggling side, so they could call on a young player, young talented player. They needed talent like him to kind of pull them through. But I've seen him compared to Andrea Pirlo, which is obvious because of the appearance and obviously the nationality. But so with this in mind, what does he actually bring to your team in the base of that midfield?
I think because of that Pirlo comparison, in the latter stages of Pirlo's career, where he would often sit just right behind a midfield 4, and Juve and Italy would play like a 4-1-4-1. He's just really calm on the ball, and I'm basically hoping my team has 75% or more possession, whoever they're playing against. And he is just a really calming presence on the ball that can set the tempo, and everything can can run through him. We didn't get to see that much at Brescia, but when he was playing in the youth ranks for Italy, he completely ran everything in midfield and set the tempo in every match. And that's what Milan is hoping to get out of him in the next, they probably want him to finish his career there. He's a Milan fan his whole life. And apparently he still slept in Milan pajamas when he was even playing at Brescia. So, but yeah, I mean, he's just a guy that for me is gonna control the tempo and just be that calming presence on the ball. But like I said, it's a guy that hasn't played that much for Milan yet. But that's just because they're kind of betting him in. But like I said, within 6 to 12 months, he's going to be playing week in, week out in that midfield, and and they're really, the future of this club is going to be built around him.
Yeah, lovely.
All right, I guess since to cut in before Charlie steals my thunder again, I'll go with my front three first. This was where, like Charlie said, most of the young world-class talent out there right now is attacking, and I think we each had I would say 6 players that could have fit into this front three that are all just world-class talents that start for most of their clubs. So I've gone with kind of the obvious front three, and that is on the right, I've gone with Jadon Sancho of Borussia Dortmund, who at the moment is probably the most prized possession in European football. Obviously, United have been linked with a £120 million move for him for basically all of this past transfer window, but unfortunately, because they have complete morons doing all the transfer business for them, they could not get it over the line. But, this guy is an absolute lightning bolt down that wing, and his ability to get past players and play balls into the box and even score every once in a while is something to marvel at, because as a 20-year-old, actually, he's still 19, isn't he? I don't think he's 20 yet.
I'm not sure. I can search for you.
I believe he's still 19. To be starting for the English national team, starting at Borussia Dortmund week in, week out as a 19-year-old, and to have that big of a price tag of
20.
Okay, he's 20 now. To have that big of a price tag of £120 million on you, you have to be something really special. And this guy is, like I said, he's an absolute lightning bolt. And I fear for the life of any fullback that has to stand in the way of him running at you. You may have more to say on him as an Englishman, but it was one of those guys that once he left City as a kid, we knew we had lost a big talent. And now we've seen that with him at Dortmund, he's world class. I would say probably top 5 or 6 attacker in the world at the moment. And that's at 20 years old. So yeah, unbelievable talent in Jadon Sancho. All right, in at striker, I've got Erling Braut Haaland, also Borussia Dortmund, who just have a never-ending pool of young talent. But I think this was kind of the obvious one. As far as center forwards go, he's definitely the most prized possession in Europe right now. He moved there for such a small fee, which is unbelievable, from Red Bull Salzburg, but he's now worth well over £80 million. And I think we were looking at Transfer Market for some of our valuations of these players, and he's only worth £65 million on there, but his next move is going to be well over £100 million.
Yeah, 100%.
But yeah, the guy is just an absolute freak of nature. He's big, muscular, and he has an absolute rocket of a shot. And he's just one of those center forwards that he can drive at people and he can score from really anywhere in and around the box. But he's also, I would compare him to maybe a Sergio Aguero, not in size or style of play, but in the sense that he will always get on the end of any cross. And obviously that's what you want in any striker. But the way that Borussia Dortmund play, it's a bit like City, where they do have a lot of pullbacks from the byline, and he is always there to tap in anything that is there to be tapped in. And for such a young kid to have that positional awareness to tap in everything that is put on a plate for him, it's something that's hard to find in center forwards that are that young. And, he is the guy right now that every big club in Europe wants. And if it's not this summer, this upcoming summer, then next summer he will go to a top 5 club in Europe for well over £100 million. And he will be, in the next couple of years, arguably the best striker in the world. I would say once Lewandowski retires, it will be Haaland next to step up there. So, yeah, I think, I can't remember if Charlie has the same striker or not. I'll have him not give it away yet, so I'm sure he'll have some stuff to say as well. But yeah, I've got Erling Haaland in at striker. And then in at left wing, I've got Barcelona's Ansu Fati, a player who I absolutely adore. Transfer Market right now have him valued at £65 million, just like Haaland. But just like Haaland, if he were to move right now or in the near future, it would be well over £100 million. This is a guy that kind of just broke onto the scene last season. Um, and it's in that Barcelona attack, which in the past couple of years has been a little bit anemic. But he's kind of been the standout player on that left wing. He's really pacey and he's a really good finisher. Up until his injury this season, he had 5 goals in 10 games already. And, he's the future of that Barcelona attack. They're definitely going to build their attack around him once Messi is out the door, whether that's with a transfer or retiring. But the guy is really pacey and he can cut in onto either foot and score. And like Sancho on the other wing, it's a bit terrifying for him to run at you if you're a fullback. So that, like I said, it's the future of Barcelona's attack. I'm going to wrap up there just for the sake of time, but I've got Ansu Fati in at my left wing. So just to run through that quickly, my front three is Jadon Sancho on the right, Erling Haaland down the middle, and Ansu Fati on the left. Okay. I don't know how, but you got any objections there, Charlie?
I've not got any objections. I've got a question though. Because spoiler alert, I haven't got Ansu Fati in mine. And that a lot of that is down to the fact that I haven't actually watched him that much, because Adam is a much more committed football fan than me, and he will sit there for 12 hours a day and watch every single match. And I can't do that. So basically, I haven't watched much Ansu Fati. Obviously, I know he's really highly rated. What kind of superstar of the past would you compare him to, play style wise?
That is a very good question. I think I would compare him to maybe a David Villa, who can play out on that wing, but when he comes narrow, he is sometimes an automatic finish from 10, 12 yards, and he's really, really good at just finding an inch of space in there to curl a shot into, either corner, and he's got a really good shot on him. But like David Villa, he can play out wide as well and run into the box with the ball on his own.
Yeah.
I'd say that's probably a good comparison, keeping it within the Barcelona family as well.
Yeah, a goal-scoring winger. Yeah, definitely. His goals record is showing that already. And as I move on to mine, my front three, I haven't got Jadon Sancho. And as an Englishman, I can't even say that much about Sancho because I haven't seen him play that much. He plays all his football in the Bundesliga. And it's a really weird case where, like you were saying, everyone at City knew that he was going to be a superstar. So weird. Everyone knew. No doubts at all. They were like, this guy is going to be a superstar. But when he was 17, he demanded £50,000 a week on a contract. And realistically, we had Sterling and Sané in the squad at the time who were also young. So we knew he wasn't going to get a game effectively. So we let him go for £8 million, which obviously that haunts us a little bit. But we had to let him go, really. We couldn't have given him 50 grand a week.
To be fair, though, one thing that City fans around the world are a bit happy with is if he goes to United for £120 million, I believe we get 19 or 20.
Oh, okay.
So
that's good.
We will cash in a little bit on him. We'll get, over double what we sold him for in the first place, wherever he goes.
Yeah, no, that's good. Well, with Sancho, most of the times I've seen him, he's been playing for the English national team. And to tell you the truth, I've not been overly impressed with him. He's not brought his best performances to the national team. And that's why on my right wing, I can say hand on heart, Sancho doesn't get in there on merit. And to stress my impartiality, I've gone with a United player, and that is Mason Greenwood. And to be honest, I'm completely happy to have Mason Greenwood here on my right wing. I think he's only just turned 19, and as an 18-year-old last season, he got 17 goals in all competitions. Transfer Market have got him at £50 million already. And I think just as a comparison, I'm friends with a lot of United fans, and they say that he's much better than Marcus Rashford was at his age. And although Rashford is not a total global star at the moment, it's definitely a really good sign for Greenwood if he's going to go on and hit the heights properly. He's got 62 senior games, 20 goals. Considering most of those are off the bench, that is an outstanding record, and his minutes to goals is fantastic as well. And the main thing that is going for Mason Greenwood is the fact that he is totally both-footed. And when I'm doing my research for this video, I looked at which favoured foot every player uses. And for Greenwood, I didn't even bother searching. I just put both because, honestly, hand on heart, I don't know what foot he is, and I don't even care because the guy he can take corners with either foot, free kicks with either foot, and he was doing it from day one in training, according to the United Superstars. He came in at 17 years old. He was taking corners with both feet, like the audacity to do that. But it's just a mark of his ability, really. And once he gets into attacking positions, he's absolutely deadly. And the final thing on Greenwood is the United front three, Anthony Martial, Marcus Rashford and Greenwood. Greenwood has been clocked at the fastest speed of any of those three. And to be honest, I didn't expect that. I thought Rashford was the quickest of the three. But it shows that Greenwood, he's got pace to add to it as well. So he's a player with a lot of skills that you need in a good striker. He's on the wing at the moment. I expect him to end up front. But he's in at right wing for my team anyway. Left wing, I haven't gone for Ansu Fati. I've gone for another very talented young player. This guy's 20 years old. It's Vinicius Jr. He's kind of been on the scene since he was 16 because he caused big headlines when Real Madrid forked out £38 million for a 16-year-old, which at that time had played less than 10 games for Flamengo. And at that point, you're thinking, the world has gone absolutely mental. What is going on here? But, fast forward 4 years later, 154 senior games. So he's played a lot of football, 30 goals already. He's full Brazil international. I'm sure a lot of people will have seen him by now. Pace and skill are the two main things in his skill set. And at times, as a 20-year-old, he's kind of been looked at to carry that Real Madrid attack, which is a big task to do for a young player. But I think to really take him to that next level, he needs to develop that killer instinct in front of goal. He's very much a touchline winger at the moment, but if he can add more goals to his game, I think he can be a real threat. And I think he needs to work on bringing others into the game as well, because he's only got 1 assist so far this season. But anyone who's watched him knows he's an absolute joy to watch. And I'm sure he's going to be a talent for years and years to come.
I'm sure the lack of form and fitness from Eden Hazard has definitely helped his development as well, because they don't really have anybody else to play on that wing.
Absolutely, yeah. If Hazard was fully fit and firing, I think Vinicius would have a very hard time even getting into that team to begin with. Because even without Hazard there, he's got enough talent to contend with for a 20-year-old. But yeah, the fact Hazard really hasn't hit the heights yet for Madrid has definitely helped his development. And basically, he's been in pretty decent form this season, Vinicius, and it's going to be hard for Hazard to slide back in that team. Vinicius is kind of stating a case to keep his place in the side at the moment. So it'll be interesting to see how that all pans out. And now, as I go on to my striker, I'm glad Adam spoke about him first, because I probably would have been here for about 20 minutes talking about Erling Braut Haaland. He's my favourite player in the world at the moment, and I've seen City have been linked with him. Please, Sheikh Mansour, get the checkbook out, please. I really would like to see him at the Etihad Stadium. He's made 121 senior appearances, 98 goals. The guy's 20. This is a joke. This is absolutely mental. 44 goals in all competitions last season as a 19-year-old for Salzburg and Borussia Dortmund. And this season, he's got 15 in 12 games. That's more than Lewandowski in all competitions. That is more than Robert Lewandowski, who everyone has been saying is just off the charts this season. So Haaland is not just the hottest youngster in the world right now. He's the hottest footballer in the world, I would go as far to say. And he scored another hat-trick at the weekend, a 15-minute hat-trick against Hertha Berlin. Again, a 20-year-old making it look like men against boys. His stature, his athleticism, his movement is so exceptional. If he wants to make a run in behind you, he is completely undefendable. And it's just like he can switch it on whenever he wants. If he wants to get in behind, all you have to do is make a darting run. He's in. He makes a finish look easy. And it's a goal. It's an unbelievable recipe. And he's been really successful so far. And to be honest, I don't see how his progression can stop. I don't see what would stop it. I can only see it going up from here. So Haaland is the crown jewel in this team for me, and he easily gets in at striker.
I love it. Yeah, I'm really interested to see if I think maybe after this I'll have to go onto FIFA and create these two teams and have them play each other just to see who comes out on top. But yeah, no, the amount of talent in the 22 that we just listed is unreal, and it's a really exciting future of football right now. I think we maybe had 3 or 4 years where it felt like we didn't have any world superstars that were on the rise. We were kind of stuck in the rut of the kind of classic Real Madrid and Barcelona players and a couple Bayern Munich players. But now we've got these just insane talents all over the world that, a lot of big clubs are maybe heading into rebuilds, and everybody we just listed is, if they're not already at a big club, is going to be filling some really big shoes in the next couple of years. So
you love to kind of see young players do well, because ourselves as young people, we can kind of relate to it a little bit. Like, despite the fact I'm 23, Adam, I think you're 24, are you? So we can't even qualify for these teams anymore. But if you see like a 19 or 18-year-old scoring at the Nou Camp, it kind of puts it into perspective for us, because we remember what it felt like when we were 18, and I could only imagine what that feels like to score like that. But yeah, no, I always just remember Ousmane Dembele was born a day before me. That always keeps me humble, because he's having a better time than me.
It's funny you mentioned that we can't get to these teams anymore, because it's a really funny thing, like this funny conversation I have with myself maybe once a month where I'm like, man, I'm too old now, as if I ever had the talent in the first place, like, mate, to go play at Barcelona.
The harshest realization I had was when me and my mate at home, we realized that we no longer qualify for the PFA Young Player of the Year, and we lost it. We completely lost it. We couldn't believe it. So yeah, we get humbled every day looking at these young footballers.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, real quick, Charlie, like we always do, just for our audio listeners, let's do a quick run through of our teams, just in case anyone's on a long road trip or whatever, and they can't look at the video and see our little graphic of our lineups there. So I'm gonna just run through mine real quick. First, in goal, Gigi Donnarumma. I've got a back four of Serginho Dest, Ozan Kabak, Eric Garcia, Alphonso Davies. Midfield three of Sandro Tonali, Eduardo Camavinga, Phil Foden, and a front three of Jadon Sancho, Erling Braut Haaland, and Ansu Fati.
Okay, and my competing team is, I've got Illan Meslier in goal, I've got Reece James right back, Alphonso Davies left back, and I've got Ozan Kabak and Wesley Fofana as the centre-back duo. Holding midfielder, I've got Eduardo Camavinga, and the two flanking central midfielders, I've got Phil Foden and Dominic Szoboszlai. Right wing, Mason Greenwood, left wing, Vinicius Jr., and striker, Erling Braut Haaland.
Awesome. All right, that has been our Europe Under 21 Best 11. Like I said in the beginning, we have the 100 subscribers kit giveaway video that is still up, and it will remain up. We're going to announce the winner of that on Friday of this week, which will be probably 2 days from when you're seeing this, if you're watching this on the day it comes out. So there's still time for you to hit the video that is up in the top right corner right now and get the instructions. It's very easy. Just kind of retweet a tweet, comment on a video, and just like that, you're in. And you can win an Away Days mystery kit. So definitely get in there. And if you've got anybody that would be interested, tell them to subscribe. If you've got anybody that would be interested in the audio version of the show, you can tell them. Or for you can just search on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify Podcasts, search the Rank and Report Football Show. We will come up as the first result. Hit follow, hit subscribe, give us a rating, give us a review, tell your mom, tell your dad. And yeah, that's the best way to grow our audience, is just word of mouth, and we'll get those numbers going up like they were last week with our kit giveaway videos. So, all right, Charlie, any last words for the people?
No, nothing inspirational. I'm off to make some dinner. I've had a great time, and we will resume normal service next week with some ranking and reporting of Europe's top 5 leagues.
All right, I will see you then.